Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mishmash Entertainment Podcast. This week we have Matthew.
And Miki.
Two-person podcast again. This will be great.
Oh, because it went so well last time.
Yeah, super smooth. We didn't have any awkward pauses at all.
Not a single one.
All right. Well, this week I figured we would talk a bit about cosplay. It's not a topic I'm particularly familiar with.
It's a topic I'm very familiar with.
Yeah. So Miki will do most of the talking, so if anyone out there hates my voice, good news. I think we'll start off first with I'll talk about my experience with cosplay, which is very, very limited. I've never made a cosplay or worn a cosplay myself. Is that how you would say that? Worn a cosplay or worn?
Yeah, some people say wore, some people say did.
Okay.
A lot of people did a cosplay.
That makes more sense to me.
I'm not sure why.
I've never done a cosplay. Well, I mean, you wear a costume, you're doing cosplay, I suppose.
I suppose.
That's probably the differentiation they make. By the way, you can have your phone back.
Oh, thank you.
But for me, for the longest time, I didn't really get overly involved in cosplay. I didn't, more recently I've been looking more into it because I kind of want to get involved myself. I feel like I'm a bit old to get started. I don't have any of the skills, so it's going to take me a long time to get to where I would be comfortable wearing anything. But for the longest time, my exposure to cosplay was the kind of Jessica Negri sexy version of a lot of stuff, which, I mean, I
it's
like.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, but it doesn't hold my interest enough for me to really ever have looked into it, and that kind of stuff. Like I've never been one to look at swimsuit models and stuff like that, or either, you know. And I know there are a lot of guys out there that are really into that, and it's just like. That's where it was for me, for that level of thing. And then actually what got me into it is probably 2 or 3 years ago. I saw one of Jessica Negri where she did a really good job. Well, she always does a good job, but it's usually not my taste, where it was World of Warcraft armor. It looked really, really cool, and I started looking into more things. And I've been interested in doing it. I've never gotten around to it, as I said, because I don't have the skills, and also because I don't like pictures, and I don't look the way I look. I mostly started getting more serious about it when I was going to the gym and I was getting into better shape. And then that stopped when I started going to school, which is not great.
Curse you, school.
Yeah. And another big problem for me is I want to kind of jump in the deep end, and I want to do things where people are wearing things like armor and other things, which is far more complicated. I don't watch a whole lot of anime, so there's not a whole lot of things I can draw from where people just wear normal clothes. But I think we'll start... That's really all I have to say about it. So I think we'll jump to Miki now. And how did you first get into cosplay?
So this is a really cringy story, just to start off.
Cringy can be fun.
When I was about 12, when I first discovered anime, I thought it was really super cool. And I wanted to be like them because I was 8.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And then I found more and more and more of this as the years went by on YouTube. Oh, thank God. And I wanted to dress up like them, wear their kind of clothes, because I thought they looked cool instead of sweatpants and jeans, because it's not cool. So I started taking things from my wardrobe that looked more similar to what they would wear. In the shows, the sailor uniform, so I'd wear a black shirt with some weird scarf draped over it, or a bow, or something like that.
All right.
And then a pleated skirt. Looked really bad. That was seriously my first cosplay. I turned my shirt inside out, so you couldn't see what was on the outside, and I wore this red scarf.
All right.
And a skirt.
Well, gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. Then I realized that there are actually more people that do this kind of thing. And that you can, it's not that weird, because I thought it was pretty weird. I stuck out like a sore thumb. It's horrible.
It's a bit weird when you're going to school in cosplay stuff.
The worst part is the first time I did that, I was going to watch a play.
Oh.
So the immediate reaction of everybody there is, "Oh, are you in the play?" No, I'm not in the play. And the worst part is every single time I go out in cosplay, everybody asks, "Are you in a play?"
Yeah, I could see that happening.
And it's so irritating. That was the first day I ever cosplayed, and the last time I cosplayed, I probably got the exact same reactions from the regular crowd.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't know about it, so they see someone in a costume, and they're like, oh, it's a play or something.
Yeah, but I more so mean the quality.
Oh.
Because the quality from that first one and the quality from the last one, they're so different.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I started making more, and my nanny knows how to sew, so I got her to help me make dresses. She also just taught me how to sew, sort of.
Yeah.
Just as a different thing long before I ever discovered cosplay. So that helped a lot. And then I found you can buy them online.
Yeah.
So I bought a couple online, and then I started making them because it's like, oh, I know how to sew. I could probably do this. Turns out I can do that.
Yeah.
It was a lot harder than I thought it would be, but I can totally do it. My nanny, of course, would not help me because I didn't have a pattern to make it. A pattern is what you would use to, like, make a shirt or make a pair of pants.
Yeah.
It just kind of gives you the outline, so all you have to do is cut it out. You don't have to, like, measure yourself and try and figure out what goes where.
Yeah.
But, yeah, she wouldn't help me, so I was totally on my own, totally worth it.
Yeah.
So now my experience with cosplay is blood, sweat, and tears, quite literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made this one cosplay from a character from Attack on Titan or Shingeki no Kyojin. So I don't know if you know that series.
I do. I was never a huge fan of it.
Okay.
It was after my anime phase, so I just didn't get into it.
I wasn't...
Well, I say phase.
I cosplayed it, but I honestly wasn't a huge fan. I just really liked two characters.
Yeah.
So I decided to cosplay one of those two characters that I really liked. So I needed to make the harness, which was
Okay.
all made out of vinyl, and it's a full-body harness. And I literally bled for that cosplay, but it turned out really nice, so
That's
it's
awesome.
okay. But most of my cosplay experience now is pretty great. It's a lot of fun. I hate pictures of myself outside of cosplay, but inside of cosplay, take as many pictures as you want.
Yeah.
It's I always have a lot of fun doing it. So,
Yeah. Now, I think for a lot of people, especially myself, if I wanted to get into it, we have a very tight budget. Like, I'm minimum wage. So, how much do you know about cosplaying on a budget?
funny enough, I run a panel called Cosplay on a Budget.
Oh my god, we didn't talk about this before the podcast at all.
No, absolutely not. But it all started sort of when I wanted to do this one particular cosplay from the anime Puella Magi Madoka Magica.
Yeah.
The main character, Madoka. She's got this, like, super poofy dress, and I was like, oh, I need to do this because I love poofy dresses. And it's also pink, and I like pink, and the character's great. Well, she's not great, but she's great.
Okay.
She's pretty pathetic. But anyways, so I was like, I don't even have a job. I'm still in high school.
Oh,
My
yeah.
dad doesn't like to give me money. So I was running off of birthday money from like 8 months ago, and I had like $100 to do this. And
Yeah.
$100 for cosplay is not much at all.
No.
Usually it won't even finish the cosplay, even come close. So I went to the fabric store. I knew exactly what I needed. I didn't exactly know how much because I didn't make a pattern yet. But I got how much I think I would need, and it came out to like $80, which is
Okay.
really good because I made the underskirt, the poofy part,
Yeah.
and then I made the entire dress and a bunch of bows and so on and so forth. And it looked really nice for what I did, and I was like super proud of it. I actually wore that costume to what we have here called Geekwinox. It's like an incredibly small convention.
I've heard of it, I've never been.
It was the first year that the event was being held, and there were maybe like 200-300 people that day.
Okay.
But they were having a costume contest because they wanted to be like the big conventions.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll enter. Why not? Just for the hell of it. This is usually why I enter anyways. So I entered in like the lowest category, which is novice. And they were so amazed, they bumped me up to the next category. I don't remember what it's called. Doesn't matter.
Nope.
But I actually won second place.
Nice.
So I was super proud of myself, and I, at that point, realized that cosplay on a budget is totally possible. You just have to be super determined.
Yeah.
So now, my cosplays aren't so much on a budget anymore, now that I have an actual job. Luckily for me, it's not minimum wage.
Yeah. I mean, technically it's not minimum wage, but you start off at minimum wage, and then you get an extra whole $2 after you've been working there for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, my job's a little better than that, but
Yeah.
my job's, the wage starts over, it's like, what's minimum wage now, 10, 11?
$10.35, I think.
Okay, so my job starts $4 over minimum wage, and every year you get $1 increase, and I've been there for 3 years.
Yeah, this is why I'm going to school, because I really need a better job.
I need to go to school too because this job is fucking dumb.
Wow, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of my more recent cosplays have been a lot nicer because I can afford the nicer materials. And I also put a lot more time into them.
Yeah.
And I try to make them look a lot better because my skills have gone up, so they don't have to look as bad as that first cosplay that I did with the inside-out shirt.
Yeah. I think a lot of people underestimate just how time-consuming cosplay is, because as I've gotten into it, I've heard people mentioning very large number of hours that I wouldn't expect. I mean, this is high-tier stuff. There's I think it was the Mercy cosplay from Overwatch that they said there was like 700 hours.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah. So, but how much time do you usually put into a cosplay?
It honestly depends on the cosplays, because I have...
Yes.
I have this cosplay. It's my favorite cosplay. I should have used this as an example for my cosplay on a budget. I put maybe a half an hour into work because I had a shirt, it was a white dress shirt, ugly green pants, and a wig, and a black tie. So you can imagine it was super simple, but I wanted to spend the least amount of money on this as I possibly can because it was so simple. Yeah. So I was gifted the shirt, I was gifted the tie. The shirt had a pocket on it, so I had to take the pocket off. That took 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And then I eventually, after months of searching, I say searching, but every time I just went to a pants store, I just looked for the ugliest colored green pants.
Solid plan.
Yeah, and one day I actually found the perfect pair of pants. And it was great because they were $3.
Okay.
So I got these $3 pants, and I hemmed them. It took maybe another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I got the wig. It was probably the most expensive part. I like to exclude that because it was... I got it from Arda, which are very high-quality wigs. They're very nice.
Yeah.
It was $30.
Yeah.
And I spent maybe another 10 minutes trimming the bangs.
Okay.
And that's it. That's the whole cosplay right there.
That's a quick cosplay.
Yeah.
What character was it? Did I miss the name? Or?
I don't think I said the name. It's from... It's my favorite part. It's from a visual novel called Kadoa Shoujo, which, for anybody who doesn't know, apparently Matt does.
I do.
Is a visual novel made by 4chan. Kadoa Shoujo literally translates to crippled girls. Mm-hmm. And this particular girl is named Rin Tezuka. She is a girl who is at this disabled people school because she doesn't have arms.
Yeah, I think that's your profile picture on Facebook for a while.
It was for 5 years.
Yeah.
I actually recently changed it last week to something a little that shows my cosplay quality a little bit better.
Yeah. And this is probably something I should have started with, but because I'm bad at interviews and stuff and I have no practice, what would you recommend for people looking to get into cosplay? Is there any resources you suggest they use, or?
There's an endless list of resources.
Yeah.
I used to have a blog, and every time I saw a tutorial or tips or anything, I would save them. And this list of saved tutorials and tips and whatnot got so long, it was ridiculous. Yeah. So I essentially just decided that anytime I needed something, I would just Google it, because chances are I'll find the same thing, and there's 18 different ways to do something.
Fair enough, yeah.
I mean, there are some people that are better at doing tutorials and whatnot. There's this one girl, she does a lot of armor. I can't remember her name. Oh, God. But she does some amazing armor, and her tutorials are so good. She even has books to explain how to do these and sells them at bookstores.
When I went to HellCon last year, it was Nathan DeLuca and I think Rainbow something who were doing an armor cosplay.
Oh, it's Raining Neon.
Raining Neon, that's it, not Rainbow. Yeah.
Rainbow.
Yeah, it's close. There's a rain in it. Oh, not... Shh. Anyway, but yeah, I went to... I went to a panel where they were talking about making armor, and that's where myself and my roommate had at some point been discussing both doing some Mandalorian battle armor, which anyone who doesn't know that, it's Jango Fett, Boba Fett. They have Mandalorian armor in Star Wars. I think it would be fairly difficult for a first cosplay, though.
Yeah, I can agree it would be pretty difficult. I've tried to stay away from armor personally because I'm pretty comfortable sewing. I recently started to try and do a little bit of armor here and there for a couple of cosplays that have little metal pieces and whatnot.
Yeah.
I struggle so much.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern with getting into it, is that everything I can think of that I want to do has a lot of armor, or it'll have leather, and I have heard nightmares about working with leather.
See, the trick to working with leather is you don't work with leather.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard. You buy vinyl. Some of it looks exactly the same,
Yeah.
or you can make it look the same, and it's a lot easier to work with. It's not nearly as expensive.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like if I successfully get through this college program I'm in, I could get a job that would pay good wages. Not great, but I mean, I could get by, and maybe then I'd consider trying to do something with leather, mostly because I just feel like it'd probably be more durable.
Oh,
Leather's
definitely.
very durable.
Leather's
So
I love leather.
yeah. Plus, it'd just be kind of neat to be able to like make my own wallets if I learned to work with leather and stuff like that. So
That would be super cool.
yeah.
Another thing with working with armor itself is that it's significantly expensive than regular cosplays.
Yeah.
Because you need to buy the foam.
Yep.
And depending on the kind of foam you need and how much, it can be very expensive. I know 1-inch EVA foam, which is standard, I think it's 1 inch, it might be half inch, I'm not sure now, is pretty standard for armor making. It's pretty much what everybody uses.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, it's those like, if you ever go to like a preschool or a primary class, it's those mats on the floor.
Yeah.
You can get them at the dollar store actually, but they're $4 for 4 squares.
Yeah, but they're decent sized squares, aren't they?
Well, they're about foot by foot.
Yeah.
Maybe a foot and a half if you're lucky.
Yeah. Okay.
So it takes a lot. I don't think I've actually used those because the pieces that I've used or the pieces that I've made have been too thin for that sort of thing. They've been more so jewelry than actual armor pieces.
Yeah.
But other kinds of foam can be cheaper. Other kinds of foam can also be very expensive. Generally, the thinner the foam that you get, or if you need a piece of foam that's in between like craft foam and EVA foam, it gets pretty expensive because you can only really get it at Michael's.
Yeah. Yeah. Another problem with working with foam is you need a respirator.
Only for certain kinds of foam, really.
Yeah, but if
long
you're
as
going to
you
be
have a
using
roll
heat to form foam, you should probably have a respirator.
You probably should, but
And that's what...
as horrible people, me and all of the people that I know do not use respirators when forming foam.
Yeah.
However, you do need a heat gun,
Yes.
which are quite expensive,
Are they?
which shocked me.
I haven't really looked into them yet. 'Cause
I spent extensive times researching heat guns
Yeah.
because I did not want to spend a lot of money on a heat gun because I thought I assumed I was going to fail at whatever I was doing,
Yeah.
and I probably wasn't wrong. I'm not very good at it, but
Practice makes perfect.
yeah, there's this one heat gun kit you can get at one of the hardware stores, and it comes with the heat gun. It comes with a few attachments, user's manual, yada yada yada. It was like $30,
Yeah.
and then everything else is like $100.
Yikes.
Yeah, so you
Yikes.
kind of just gotta hope that this one kit is in.
Yeah. I imagine that probably breaks fairly easily, but if you're just learning, go with the cheap stuff.
Yeah, I know a few people that have that same heat gun kit thing. It works. I mean, it works well. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. I assume that the issue would be that it doesn't get hot enough for some things. I can't imagine what you would be doing that if it wasn't hot enough.
Yeah, I can't really think of many uses for a heat gun anyway, so...
Well, the heat gun kit that I have, actually, it's labeled as a paint stripping kit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you
So
go.
all of the accessories are for paint stripping, but they also work really good for making edges.
Okay. There you go.
Another thing that's really expensive with armor, aside from the foam itself and buying the initial heat gun, is usually everybody covers it in Warbla,
Okay.
which is a thermoplastic. So you heat it up and it molds over whatever you're molding it to, which
Yeah.
is where those things making edges comes in really good. So you can push it into the little crevices and whatnot. But a big gold sheet of Warbla is like $60.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, and that'll cover maybe your leg, maybe half of your leg.
Wow. Yeah, that's
It's the most
expensive.
expensive part, honestly.
I feel like Nathan and Neon were talking about something that was like a cheap substitute for that if you didn't have the money for it. I seem to remember. I'd have to go back and look at the notes I took while I was at that panel. But
I know there's another kind of thermoplastic called Wonderflex, and then there's Thriba as well. They're all essentially the same thing. They're all pretty much the same price. I know Nathan uses this other product. Oh God, what's it called? There's this 3D thing, and then there's this other stuff, and it comes in 2 cans, sort of like an epoxy deal. You mix them together, and they do their thing.
I think that miit be what I'm thinking of. I can't remember.
It's like $30 for this big, like, 4-liter jug. Not really sure. It's been a while since I looked at it. But it works pretty well. You have to put many layers on anything. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
And you still have to sand it down. You have to wet sand it and pray.
Okay.
I tried to make something with it. It was so bad. I tried to make a sword, and I initially made it out of foam as base, and then paper mache. It looked great until I tried to paint it, and it looked like it was covered in duct tape.
Oh no.
So I had to do something about that. So I cried for help. Nathan helped me. He gave me this stuff, this plastic stuff.
Yeah.
I really wish I remembered what it was called. And he was like, put many, many, many layers on it. Like every 15 minutes, put another layer on it. And I was like, all right, I can do that.
Yeah.
So I did that. It's really splotchy. I don't know where I went wrong.
Oh.
It's not that even, but it was better than duct tape. So I went with it. And I was on a super time limit. I had like a day and a half to do this.
Yeah.
From the fuck up to leaving my house. And I had other things to do, like pack.
Yeah.
And then, so I sanded it. I thought I did a pretty good job sanding it, honestly. I'm really bad at sanding things. At least Warbler. It always looks really bad. And then I painted it. I got spray paint. I got the same kind of spray paint, coincidentally, that Nathan uses. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's great paint, whatever. So I went out, painted it, came back in, let it dry, painted the other side, let it dry. I let it sit for like a day. It sat overnight in the window drying.
Okay.
And I would wipe my finger on it. The paint came right off.
Oh, no.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
That's
so
awful.
I got my paint that I get from the dollar store, same color, and then I put 3 coats, and then I sealed it. It was fine.
Okay.
I was so pissed because I spent $10 on this can of spray paint when I spent $1 on this paint.
Yeah, fortunate.
Yeah, which also goes to show that the expensive products aren't always the good products.
Yeah. I think mostly it's specializing stuff that tends to make it cost more. Like maybe that cheap paint wouldn't hold to another service that the expensive stuff would. Or maybe they just charge more for brand name. That happens.
I don't know. I just picked the cheapest can of spray paint at Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
But it clearly didn't do very well. But I messaged him, and I was like, messaged Nathan, rather. And I was like, oh my god, what's going on? The paint won't stick to the sword. I don't understand. And he was like, what kind of paint are you using? So I sent him a picture, and he was like, well, it's the same paint I use. It should be fine. I was like, it's not fine.
Unfortunate.
It was very unfortunate.
Yeah. You already talked about your favorite.
I don't think
Cosplay?
I talked about my favorite cosplay.
Okay, what was your favorite cosplay then?
That's a good question.
Well,
There's this one character that I cosplayed from this story, or this manga series called Red River, or Anatolia Story, whatever you want to call it. It's not very well known. It's really old. It's from the 90s, but I love it. I've read it like 6 times over at least. And
Yeah.
this one character, the main character, her name is Yuri, and I love her. She's amazing. So I decided a long time ago that I was going to cosplay her, but I decided I wouldn't cosplay her until I had enough skill to do it properly.
Okay.
Because if I made it look bad, I would cry. So I finally did it like 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, I'm not sure, year and a half, I don't know, whatever. And I love it. It's so much. It's amazing, and it makes me happy, and the work I put into it just makes me feel so much better. Because I got a wig that I thought would be amazing. It was like $15 on eBay or something like that. It looked great in the picture. I got it. Because it was supposed to be like super poofy and wavy and curly and whatever.
Yeah.
And I got it, and it was super flat.
Oh.
So I had to not only trim it, but I had to curl it. And I have to curl it every time I need to wear it. Because this character has a perm.
All right. Well, that's sounds like a pain in the ass.
It is a pain in the ass, but at the same time, it just makes me feel like I did a better job.
Yeah.
Because it looks good, and I took it from something that looked like shit.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But that's probably my favorite character that I've done. I've also done a cosplay for my boyfriend. It's the first cosplay I did. The second cosplay I did for somebody else. Jasmine from Disney.
Yeah.
Like Disney's Aladdin. But I did a male version.
Okay.
So I found this fan art that looked super cool. And then I essentially took that and I made it into a costume for him. The only difference was this character has some sort of headdress.
Okay.
Because it's from India. I don't know what it is. It's just, but I tried to make it, and then we put it on his head, and we decided it looked way too racist.
Okay, yeah.
So we dropped that, and I ended up making him a crown. But that one turned out incredibly well. I did all kinds of hand embroidery.
Oh, wow.
I I did some lining for his vest. I made him a giant cape, and it looks great. I actually took it down because I'm moving, so I put it in a box, and I took it off the hanger. It's been sitting on it for about a year and a half. The hanger is so bent.
Oh.
It's closer to a circle than anything
wow.
right now, and it's a plastic hanger.
Okay, so it's a heavy thing.
It's very heavy, but it's very nice. It makes me happy.
Yeah. Is there any kind of cosplay? Is there a cosplay you're looking forward to making right now, or are you not currently in the process of planning one?
I have been in the process of planning and making this one cosplay that I've already even started for 2 years.
Okay.
And I haven't done anything on it for about 2 years.
Okay.
It's a character from Dynasty Warriors 8, which
Okay.
you might be familiar with.
I don't think I've played 8,
Okay.
but I've played a lot of them.
8 is the newest one, and my goal is to finish it before October and before the new game comes out,
Yeah.
because his costume will change, and that would be very sad. But it's the character called Lucian.
Oh yeah, he's been in a lot of games.
Yeah,
Although
he's in pretty much all of them.
Yeah, at least since 5, I think, because that's where
I have no idea.
maybe
But
4 as well.
I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure
remember.
he's in every single Dynasty Warriors game.
Could be.
Because he has a lot of costumes.
Yeah.
But his costume for the 8th is what I want to do, because it's relatively simple and it looks really nice.
Okay.
And I started it and it looks freaking great, and then one day I just stopped and I didn't pick it up.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Especially for my boyfriend, because that's who it's for.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think you were going to be. I mean, I guess you could. He's kind of a girly guy.
I cosplay guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm just thinking, like a lot of those characters are like big burly men that
Yeah,
look
he's
a bit weird,
not.
but he's not.
He's not. He's pretty slim.
Yeah, he's one of the strategists, and they tend to lurk. I can't. Speak.
I don't think they lurk. Well, I guess they don't
I-
fight, really, do they?
Some of them probably do, but
Probably
I
some of them.
mean, but no, he's one of the strategists, and they tend to look a lot more. How to put this?
Old. For starters.
Yeah, and
This
also
one's just not old.
he's not.
He's young.
He's the young strategist, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like the manga, almost pretty boy faces.
Oh, yeah,
that-
totally.
that-
He's Bishonen.
Yes, that's the one.
That's what it is. Pretty boy.
Yeah,
That's what that means.
a lot of them they're either old or they've got that very, and also that then there's Shanghai, which is the typical anime pretty boy type thing.
Anime pretty boy.
I'm
Yeah.
tired. Don't blame me. I can't speak.
You can speak. You can do words.
I do words good. I do words super good. I don't know. It's one of those things where I've always I keep my eye out for something I might actually be able to do for a cosplay, and I have failed so far because everything I'm like, oh, I want to do that. I'm like, that'd be really difficult. The closest one, I don't know if you know who this is, Corvo Atano from Dishonored.
Nope.
No, okay. Well,
I know Dishonored, but I don't know anything else aside from the name. Honestly.
it's the main character.
Okay.
He's got a mask that's like a skull, and then he's just got kind of like a I don't know, it's like a trench coat. It's old timey military looking thing.
All right.
And that seems like something I might be able to do if I wasted a bunch of stuff making it over and over again until it was a point where I was comfortable wearing it out in public. But other than that, obviously I'm not planning anything because I've never made anything. And I'd need to learn how to sew first, which would be difficult. I am not good with my hands.
I mean, if you're anything, I had this one friend who thought she knew how to sew. She did not know how to sew. So I tried to teach her because she was interested in it.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're better than her. Because there's this one button on a sewing machine. It's called the backstitch button. If you do not backstitch, everything will literally fall apart.
Okay.
It's what locks in the seam, whatever you're doing. So you have to push that button at the beginning and the end of everything you sew.
Okay.
Makes sense. It's
Yeah.
literally a button. You just push it and it does it all by itself. You let it go, it stops doing that. Simple enough. You could do that, right? You just push a button.
Probably. It seems like something I could manage.
Okay, well, this friend, I told her to do that, and I said it's this big button. The button is like an inch in diameter.
Okay.
It's a huge button. It's got a big R on it.
Yeah.
Super simple. R for reverse.
Yeah.
And she says, I tell her to do something. She does it. And I look at it to make sure it's done right. And I'm like, what did you do? You didn't backstitch this. And she says, the button didn't work. So I put what she did back in the machine. This was kind of mean, but it was also at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I was super done with her shit.
Yeah.
I put it back in the machine. I pushed the button. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. And I said, you didn't push the button. And she said, no, I pushed the button and it didn't work. Anyways, as long as if you could push a button, you could be better than this person who cosplays all the time.
I can do that. I can push buttons. That is one of my skills.
Sewing is really just pushing two buttons. One of them is a pedal and one of them is the backstitch button.
Well, I managed to screw up in 9th grade home ec class. I failed to sew. It stayed together, but my boxers were like, yeah, we had to choose either boxers or something else as our final sewing project, and we had done a stuffed animal. My stuffed animal turned out okay, given that I have no artistic ability whatsoever. I didn't keep the stuffed animal. I'm pretty sure I threw it in the garbage as soon as I got out of that class, and it got marked. Because, strangely enough, as a then 13, 14-year-old guy, I didn't want to have a stuffed animal. But we were forced to in our home ec class. So I have sewn before. It's just been more than a decade.
I remember in our home ec class, we didn't really call it home ec. I think we called it, I don't know what we called it. But we had half of the year we did cooking, and the other half we did like sewing and stuff.
That's exactly how it was set up in my school.
Okay. So at our school, we did like hand sewing mostly, and then we got into the machine. And we made pants, pajama pants.
Okay.
Yeah. It was and I remember... This goes back to people not knowing how to sew without a pattern.
Yeah.
Because she had a pattern. It was a one-size-fits-all pattern. I am not one-size-fits-all. Everybody in my class is at least 5'5". And then there's me, not even 5 foot. Not even remotely close to 5 foot. So she told everybody to go out and get their own material because you could pick however much you want. She told you to get however much you needed. We'll say 2 meters. So I went and I picked out this fabric. And of course, fabric is priced by the meter.
Yeah.
So if you get 1 meter, a half a meter, meter and a half, 2 meters, it's all different price. Even like 3/4 or 1/8 or whatever. So I picked it out and the girl was like, how much do you need? And I was like, oh, I need 2 meters. She was like, oh, what are you making? I was like, pajama pants. She was like, you don't need 2 meters. She was like, you need like a meter tops. So she gave me a meter, which was more than enough for what I needed. I could have made it 2 pairs of pajama pants looking back on it. But I brought it into class, I put it on the table, I put the pattern over top, and I was like, hey, miss, the pattern's longer than my piece of material. And she was like, oh my god, what did you do? You didn't get enough material, blah, 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 blah. And she was like freaking out. She did not know how to fix this issue. You just got them shorter.
Fair enough.
It was just the most interesting thing.
Sounds like you had a shitty teacher.
Well, she knew how to sew. It was clear she knew the basics, but she didn't know anything more than the basics. Once you took her away from a pattern, she didn't know what she was doing. Okay. I'm sure she couldn't alter the pattern, which was something that I literally just brought a book back to the library to how to alter patterns.
Okay, cool.
But it was a pattern that I made myself. But, yeah, she didn't know what she was doing, and looking back on it now, I feel like she should have definitely known what she was doing and should not have freaked out because it was not a big issue. Yeah. But sewing is it's a journey. Yeah. It's difficult. All cosplay is difficult. Yep. I still struggle with many aspects of cosplay. Many.
What's the most difficult thing outside of, I guess, armor, because you don't have much practice at it, but what's the thing you struggle with most in most of your cosplays?
I would say bias tape, which is what you would put on the edge of things to make it look pretty. But I recently learned how to do that. I knew how to do it to make it look nice before, but I didn't know how to do, like, corners. Okay. 90-degree corner, I got that. I can do 90-degree corners. If it's anything different, I struggle. But I saw a tutorial that made it super easy. So that shouldn't be an issue anymore. Aside from that, I struggle so much with wigs. Okay. I'm bad at cutting hair.
I can't even imagine what it would be like for me to try to cut a wig. Thankfully, I'm a guy, and I feel like with guys, you can get away with a lot of just cutting your hair, because it tends to be pretty short, unless you're doing, like, crazy anime hair.
Which is not uncommon at all.
It's not, but I'm just saying, if I'm going to do cosplay, it's probably going to be something more related to fantasy and something like Game of Thrones that I could pull off the hair for. Yeah. Not the beard, though. I can't grow a beard. It's unfortunate. 27 years old. You don't get a fake beard. That's true.
I have a friend who is female, and she cosplayed the grandpa from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay, yeah.
She commissioned somebody to make her wig, or to style her wig, rather, because it's got all those crazy spikes. Yeah. And to also make her a mustache and a beard. Okay. And it looks amazing. It's hilarious as can be. But going back to styling wig. I can't style wigs.
Yeah.
I did make style one wig for the character Catherine. I don't know if you know that. I think we talked about it on the podcast before.
I'm aware of it. I have never played it. And yes,
Okay.
I think we talked about it.
So she's got, like, short hair, except she's got these giant drills. Like, hair drills are like spirals. Giant spirals. She's got 2 on the side of her head, like pigtail style.
Why do I remember seeing either a short clip or a gif of someone's hair who had that design? It would literally spin. I don't know.
I've never seen that, but these don't literally spin.
I think it might have been. Yeah, I figured it wouldn't. I just think of that made me think of that.
That'd be pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
So I'd never done really much styling of wigs before. So I got a long wig because you can't really buy wigs with in this style without spending like $60 on top of the price of the wig for somebody to do it for you.
Yeah.
Plus shipping, which would be insane because it takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
So I got a long-haired wig. So I cut it into like a boy cut, like short with bangs.
Yeah.
And then this is the best part, I found a tutorial to make those drills, which is plastic. So I cut up some clear plastic pop bottles into strips. And I got some wire, and I hot glued them together in the shape of the spiral, and then I glued hair onto them.
Okay. I'm sure that turned out super well.
It actually turned out super, super well, aside
really?
from the actual haircut where I gave it the, like, boy cut, because I'm just bad at cutting hair. It's super choppy. But the drills turned out really, really well, except for the fact that they're both going the same way, and they should be going opposite ways.
That would be the worst to figure out.
It's pretty heckin' bad because I finished it and then I wore it to something and one of my friends was like, oh my god, your drills are going the same way. And I was like, what are you talking about? So they took a picture to show me and I was like, oh no.
That sucks.
So you can see the inside of one of them but not the inside of the other because of the way that they're curled.
Okay.
Which super sucks because it's a lot of work and they're sewn into the wig.
Yeah. That's problems.
So I have to make a new one if I want it to be right, but I'm probably never going to do that because I just don't feel like it.
It's a lot of work for something that probably doesn't have a whole lot of versatility.
Nope.
Can't imagine there's too many characters that have those hair drills.
Nope. And there's really no other character. I don't really know any other characters that have those drills except for this one character from Danganronpa.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got the ones that go from her head to the floor.
Okay.
Why? I don't know. People do it, though. I don't know how, but they do it.
Yeah. Danganronpa. I've only seen, like, images of it from, like, the visual novel games that came out. I know it's also an anime. I think I might have tried watching the first episode and lost interest immediately. But when I think of anime character designs, they pretty much nail it with all of their weird characters that I've seen.
Yeah, they have a really... there's a lot of weird-looking characters. They got the character with the giant stick coming out of his head of hair. We call that an ahoge.
Okay.
In case you wanted to know. They've got those. They've got the multicolored hair. They got the crazy hair, the spiky hair, the regular hair. And then the characters themselves are just insane.
I mean, it is a whole thing where they have to murder each other, so...
Yep.
You know.
But not get murdered.
Not get murdered. And
Murder,
not get
but
caught.
don't get murdered. Yeah, and don't get caught, because they'll murder you.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's about time for us to start wrapping up. I've run out of questions anyway, so it seems like a good enough time. Thanks again for watching.
Listening. Thanks again for listening.
Or we do have it on YouTube.
Technically, we do.
You could be watching a static image while listening to this. That sounds like a good time.
Sounds thrilling.
Yeah, we should probably actually promote our stuff.
Yeah, so we actually have a YouTube, Rooster Teeth Nova Scotia Community, I believe is what it is on YouTube. We also have a SoundCloud, which unfortunately we can only have 4 or 5 podcasts up at a time, so it's always the latest 4 or 5. And again, that's Rooster Teeth Nova Scotia Community.
We'll have this better prepared for next time so we can tell you exactly.
God, I hope so. Of course, we have the iTunes,
yeah,
the Mishmash Entertainment Podcast, and we also have, our Rooster Teeth Nova Scotia Facebook group, which isn't podcast specific, but we have an email as well, so if anybody ever has questions or advice, anything they want to tell us, it's rtns@mmepodcast.com.
Yeah, you could also leave comments on our YouTube channel.
On our SoundCloud as well.
Yep.
And reviews on iTunes.
Yes, reviews and ratings on iTunes would be
greatly
lovely.
appreciated.
And if you have any suggestions for topics, if not, I mean, we can still come up with them, but
Please come up with topics. We're so bad at it.
well, we can do it. Of course, you're our audience, so we would like to know what you would like to hear us talk about. We avoid very recent topics and things that have kind of a deadline for talking about them because we don't record these and like upload them the next day or anything like that. So it's not really possible to talk about.
We
very
have a
current
backlog.
events.
Just to put it into perspective, we have a backlog about 4 podcasts.
Yeah, so it's about a month off from when we record to when you hear it. Other than that, from Matthew
And Miki.
we'll see you next time.